So we're back into willing versus wanting, going a little deeper, seeing how it's kind of like a spectrum and how it applies out in the wild.
I love this topic of willing versus wanting. It's so interesting. First of all, I have an internal barometer of what I call wholehearted willing. So there's that, like, if you think of it as a spectrum, where over here, I'm just a heck yeah, I can't think of anything better. I'd want to do this is an enthusiastic yes, right? And then over here is a heck no, that would be horrible. That somewhere in the middle, as you kind of slide along that, we get to that place of like between willing and wanting. Like I'm wanting and then I'm willing, but then I get less and less willing, right? As we get closer to the no. So that's that internal boundary of where is my cutoff for, am I wholeheartedly willing? Like I'm willing. It's not my preference, but if it's someone else's preference, I'm willing. And then there's a point where it's like, I'm really not. So when am I tolerating or putting up with or begrudging? And as we get down there, it's like, okay, somebody else may want it, but do they really want somebody who's like, fine, So that's one way to kind of internally monitor your level of willingness and how are you showing up, and are you being honest about, okay, I'll do this, but only one time and just for you, and you owe me, like that kind of willing, right? So that's really helpful. And the other thing is, again, is who is it for? Sometimes when someone says, hey, I want to go ice skating, do you want to come too? Well, then it's like, I'm inviting you because I want to, and it would be fun if you wanted to also, but it's not like, don't do me any favors, right? That's what I call an invitation. But, a request is like, I really want this. Are you willing? And then the person who's willing says, okay, I'm willing, but these are my limits. This is an important part of negotiation. Or someone says, I'm offering. You can have this. Do you want it? I'm willing to give you this. Do you want it? And how many times are people like, well, yeah, sure, I'll take it. And they're just being polite, but they don't really want it. So that's another important distinction around willing versus wanting. It's sort of like, who's it for? And
I was thinking of an example for the kind of negotiation part of, I know some people that are going to be going skydiving and they're like, you want to come? I'm like, I've told you I will not be jumping out of any perfectly good airplanes, but you asked me if I will come. You'd actually didn't ask me, will I jump out of an airplane with you? I might be willing to show up on that day and, take the photos for you or something. I would not mind witnessing you having fun doing that, but yeah. I will probably not even go up in the plane to take pictures as you're going down.
I love that example because it points out this idea of assumptions, right? And clarifying what exactly are you inviting me to? And this is what I'm interested in. This is what I'm not. This is my wanting. This is my willing. That's great. Yeah.
And I was even thinking of, I think they call it body doubling in some communities where, you get on Zoom to do your own work, but together, because it kind of gives an accountability. And so with the body doubling, some people find it helpful where two people might get on Zoom, announce to each other what they're going to do for half an hour. Let's say I'm going to empty the dishwasher and fold some laundry. Then they go on mute and go and do those things. And I was thinking about how that is helping each other for those who find that helpful. And so similarly, when you might ask someone to come over and help you clean, that doesn't necessarily mean they are vacuuming too. For some people, that could mean they are sitting on the couch reading a book while you are cleaning, but their presence helps you to get things done. So although admittedly, if you say, will you come help me clean, that probably likely does mean physically actually participate. There are clarifications often needed, and it can be helpful to communicate precisely what is desired and then negotiate around that. Like maybe someone doesn't want to vacuum, but they happen to know you enough to know that that you just want their presence. And they would say, well, yeah, I am reading a book or I have some work to do, so I will come sit with you. That's also happened even where someone maybe wants to watch a movie that the other person has seen and the other person has work to do, but they know the first person, maybe it's like a movie with some scary moments. And so the first person just wants to have someone in the room with them. They don't really need to have them watching the full movie. And the second person, having had already seen it, they can still follow along and know what's going on, and they'll be watching it a little bit in the background to be able to discuss it later, but they're not, fully intently focused only on the movie. So there are options where it doesn't always have to be all or nothing. And so being aware of that spectrum of wanting to willing to know is helpful. And hopefully next time we can talk more about what about when you're wanting but not willing. I was thinking of an example. Yeah, maybe I have a desire for Oreos, but I'm not willing to put that in the system and deal with all the health effects and whatnot. So that, I wonder if that's another spectrum, or kind of how to delineate when there's wanting but not willing, and willing, willing without wanting makes more sense to me, but wanting does not inherently mean willing. So thank you for tuning in, and peace be with you.